Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk about another one of those sayings that people tend to throw around when they're talking about comics, Superman in particular here, and that's the fact that Superman is overpowered. You hear people say this a lot. Superman's too overpowered, so you really have to really emotionally conflict him, to tell a good story, or Superman's too overpowered, so you have to do this or that, or it's been said a number of times about a number of different issues and contexts. It's a really unfortunate saying. It's usually said by people who don't really follow Superman and his comics. They might look into a crossover or dip into this or that arc, but it belies a real misunderstanding of the character. So first I'd like to explain why that's simply not the case. He's not overpowered in any way, and it's not hard to tell a good Superman story with good valid challenges. And then I'll talk about why this mindset is such a problem and how it's brought a lot of harm to the character in terms of people trying to break him down or something like that so that they can make a different type of story. So first of all, Superman overpowered. Well, that's a relative statement. Overpowered compared to what? Who's underpowered? What is just right powered? If you're thinking about sort of boots on the ground heroes in the Marvel Universe, Spider-Man, Captain America, well, then, yeah, of course, Superman's way more powered than people like that, but Superman's not in the Marvel Universe. He's in the DC Universe, and he's really not all that overpowered. I mean, think about it. Wonder Woman has held her own in many times when they've battled or whatever, because one was mind-controlled or something of that nature. Wonder Woman's certainly just as strong. Green Lantern's not physically as strong, but that cosmic ring, I mean, that's pretty intense. So he can certainly do damage with that. The Flash even. Think about the Flash. I mean, the Flash is rarely written to the extent of his powers. I mean, he can literally be in many places at once as far as the person he's fighting is concerned, and can certainly give Superman a run for his money in different contexts. So Superman's not some godlike being among ants in the DC universe in any sense. Usually people, when they say that Superman's overpowered, or they lament that for this reason or that, they're usually talking about the vulnerability issue. And they think, oh, he's just too invulnerable. You can't hurt him. So how can you challenge him? How can you bring tension and make a good story? Well, again, that's just like, what Superman comics have you been reading? What do you mean he's invulnerable? Yes, we'll start with the kryptonite. I know some people think, oh, well, you can't use kryptonite in every story. And that's true. There's many more things you can do than just kryptonite. But let's just talk about kryptonite for 1 second, because it's not simply, oh, throw some green kryptonite at him and now he's powerless and now you can defeat him. No, there's a whole rainbow of different colors of kryptonite, and each one has different effects upon him. And that's something that's not used very often in comics. It was really delved into in the Silver Age, but it's still something that you could do now. Certainly Rebirth, I'm sure, will bring that back. So you can tell all kinds of interesting stories about the different kinds of kryptonite that will change his form or change his behavior, and all kinds of those nutty things that could make for really interesting stories. Secondly, he's susceptible to other Kryptonians, for one. So you've got villains like General Zod. You've got Supergirl, if she was to be mind-controlled in some way. He's also vulnerable to many other alien races whose strength is also enhanced by either the Earth's sun or just naturally from where they are. I mean, you think Apocalypse, certainly. You've got Darkseid and Halleback and so forth. Mongol, Despero. Lots of aliens out there are real threats and real challenges for Superman to fight. Beyond that, people forget that he's susceptible to magic. And there's a lot of magic and magical beings in the DC universe. And he doesn't have to be somebody like Zatanna or something like that. I mean, Wonder Woman, all of the mythical characters in the DC universe are classified as magical, and they can harm Superman. That's why Wonder Woman can hold her own with him, and if he goes up against characters like Atlas or Hercules and such, these are characters that can fight him. Mr. Mxyzptlk, I guess, would fall under the magic classification, being from a different dimension, but he's definitely got power over Superman as well. Brainiac. I mean, there's just a slew of villains and a slew of different ways that you can make Superman vulnerable or really bring him a good, solid challenge in a story. So I just want to blow that out of the water first, that idea that, oh, he's too overpowered or he's too invulnerable. It's just simply not true. If you understand your universe and understand your character that, you would supposedly be writing, then that's not true, and there's plenty of things to do with him. The danger from this kind of thinking is to constantly just want to rip him down on the inside. Hans Zimmer, I believe it was, who did this score for Man of Steel, was talking about, it was a big deal that there was no kryptonite in that film, that first movie. And Hans Zimmer said something to the effect of, the real way to hurt Superman is, it's not to use kryptonite or something like that. You have to break his heart. And it just, I guess he thought he was being terribly poetic when he said that. And that's just simply not the case. Superman is not Hamlet. He's not supposed to be this character with all of these moral conflicting voices inside of his head. He's not supposed to be filled with self-doubt. Now, he is a very human character despite his alienness. He's got the most human heart among us, and that's important for the character and important to be written in, that he's the best of us in every way and feels for us. And it does break his heart, quote unquote, when you would try to hurt other people. But the idea that that's not really what he means. He means try to, really get in and break his resolve down. And that's just simply not something that Superman would be susceptible to. Superman has that strong moral compass, is supposed to anyway, given to him by his upbringing with the Kents. So it is fine to have him question some things. It is fine to have him go through some stuff. Most recently in the comic books with the Action Comics run, Mr. Oz was revealed to be Jor-El, his father, and he's still trying to figure this out. But then it was also revealed that Jor-El was messed with or controlled. Of course, Dr. Manhattan's going to be behind all of this. Ultimately, we pretty much are certain. And Superman's having a rough time with that. If his father's not who he thought he was, then he's having, a little bit of a rough time with that. But it's not touching his core. It's just an understandable thing he's going through. It's not the be all and end all of midlife crises or something like that. It's just silly and stupid to rely solely on something like that to bring the character any challenge or to bring the character any real tension in his story when you've got so many things out there that can do it. I remember this was said too by Rocksteady, the video game developers who did the Batman Arkham games. People were saying and calling out for a Superman game. They did such a great job with those Arkham games, and they said, please do a Superman game. And Rocksteady basically said, no, you can't do a Superman game. He's too overpowered. You couldn't really have him surrounded by some, villains to fight like you could Batman. Well, why not? Why in the freaking world not? Get him on another planet or something, or get him surrounded by an alien invasion, where they do have that strength. That's perfectly acceptable. It's been done a number of different ways. In fact, I still maintain that the best Superman video game we've ever had was the video game that came out with Superman Returns. And this was written by Marv Wolfman. He did the story treatment for the video game, and it wasn't a playthrough of the film at all. It was additional story that played into the film, or that filled in gaps and so forth. And you had Superman abducted by Mongol, and he was on the War World fighting other contestants, so that was valid challenges right there. Even when he's in Metropolis and fighting battles, you would lose points if you allowed Metropolis to take on too much damage. Either the city, the buildings, or the bystanders, or anything like that. So you could lose the game by allowing them to take on too much damage as well. That is brilliant, because that's who Superman is. He cares deeply about everybody, and he's going to do all he can to save them. Not just himself. It's not just about fighting the bad guy and that kind of myopic tunnel vision that a lot of people have trying to imagine stories, and a lot of writers, filmmakers or comic writers or whatever, have as well, trying to tell good Superman stories and just thinking, well, we need those 3 acts and need that big CGI battle in the end. And it's just, I say it's harming the character, but I don't think you can really touch Tulpa Superman in the end. There's a great quote about that, but I'll probably get into that in another video. But the point of this video was, it's just a silly thing to say that he's overpowered. It really belies a complete misunderstanding of the character. He is differently powered than a lot of superheroes, and he does require a little more unique attention to the challenge in his story, but that does not mean it's impossible or too difficult, or there's only just, you gotta morally break him down or give him all this emotional conflict. That's just silly, and that drags him away from who his character truly is and what he's supposed to inspire in us. So wanted to post my thoughts about that. Let me know your thoughts on the idea. Did you know about a lot of these weaknesses Superman has, or did I miss some? I'm trying to name them all here, but I'm sure there's many that I couldn't, because I could go on hours and hours just naming them all, of the races that are a challenge for Superman, or magical beings that are something like that. So feel free to fill in the gaps below. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the Superman stories you love. Thanks for watching.